Hello everyone, my name is Julie and today I'm here to give some fall book recommendations. It's October, it's cold out, I want to read me some horror, some fantasy, some thriller. I'm going to tell you about some books that I've really liked recently, some books I want to read in this season. I'm going to break this up into 4 different categories. I've got some romance book recs, thriller slash mystery, fantasy, and horror. So we'll start with romance. These are all a little witchy and spectacular. We'll start with Happy Medium by Sarah Adler. I've read this recently and I so enjoyed it. It has a fake medium who shows up to exorcise a farm and turns out she can talk to the ghost that lives on this farm. He thinks she is full of it, that she's a total fraud, and the two of them, despite all odds, they kind of fall in love and they farm and they have goats and it's so charming. Then we have This Spells Love by Kate Robb. This is about a woman who, after a bad breakup, wants to do a spell to forget her ex so that she can move on. The spell works but goes wrong. She ends up forgetting her guy best friend, and to reverse this, she has to kiss him. And while trying to reconnect with her best friend and get that kiss to reverse everything, they end up falling in love. Looks super cute. I totally want to pick it up soon. Then there's Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This has vampires and werewolves. So if that's not for October, I don't know what is. In this world, vampires and werewolves kind of hate each other, but they're both kind of misunderstood. When Misery, a vampire, has to go stay with the werewolves as some sort of treaty, she ends up falling in love with the alpha. I love paranormal romances, and Ali Hazelwood is hugely popular. So if you're looking for one this season, it's a safe bet. And then there's Casket Case by Lauren Evans. Nora, who works for her family's casket company, and Garrett, who works for Death himself, get together. This is a paranormal romance that kind of deep dives into conversations about death. It's cute, it's quick, I would recommend. And then the final romance I have to talk about is Business Casual by B.K. Borison. I haven't personally read this one yet, but this book is in the Lovelight series, and in that series there are 4 novels. Each one follows a different season, and this is the fall one in that series. So I would check it out. The next category we have is fantasy, and we're gonna start with One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. I still need to get to the second book. What's the second book? Two Dark Windows? Two Twisted Crowns. So this is the first book in the Shepherd King duology. Elspeth, our main character, has a monster in her head after having the plague as a child. She is on a quest with the king's nephew to collect this deck of magical cards that can break this curse in the kingdom. This is a fun gothic fantasy romance. The romance is kind of secondary to the whole plot, but I think it's still really charming and really cute. And then we have The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I've read this recently, I really enjoyed it. This takes place during the Spanish Inquisition. Our main character has magic and she's essentially exploited into entering this competition. There's a charming romance with a man who is a familiar. There's a heck of a lot of politics, and there's a magical competition. Next we have the Prison Healer series by Lynette Noni. I adored all 3 of these books, but starting with the first one, we have the Prison Healer. Our main character, Kiva, is the healer at this notorious death prison called Zalindov. She is kind of forced into this set of trials to protect the rebel queen for reasons we don't really know. And there's a charming romance that's so slow burn, I don't think they kiss until book 2. There's twists and turns, and at the end of every book I think I sobbed uncontrollably because I was so shocked and awestruck. I really love this trilogy and I would highly recommend it. Next we have The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I have not read this, I recently purchased this. The circus arrives without warning. No announcements precede it. It is simply there, when yesterday was not. Behind the scenes, a fierce competition is underway, a duel between 2 young magicians, Celia and Marco, who have been trained since childhood, expressly for this purpose by their mercurial instructors. Amidst the high stakes, Celia and Marco soon tremble headfirst into love. Definitely want to read this season. And then the last fantasy book I have is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This is hugely popular. I also have not read this. I've actually taken this off my sister's bookshelf. This woman does not grow old or age. She's going to live forever, but no one will ever remember her. I definitely want to read this soon, since it seems like everybody else has. Alright, the next category I'm going to talk about is horror. I've been loving horror books lately, and I'm excited to talk about a couple. The first one I would like to talk about is Fantastic Land. I read this last month and was obsessed. Fantastic Land is an amusement park in Florida, and after a huge hurricane, hundreds of employees are stranded in the park. Very quickly, guilds are formed in the park and violence starts occurring. This book is written in a ton of different perspectives of people in the park. It's gory, it's violent, it's fascinating. I really, really loved this book. Next, I'm gonna call out just a couple Stephen King books that I've read this year. I've got Misery here, I've got Gerald's Game. I don't have, but I want to talk about Carrie. Really, if you pick up any Stephen King book off of a bookshelf, it'll be perfect for the fall and for any horror lover. An author is abducted by a superfan and is basically forced to write a novel for her. A woman is left stranded, handcuffed to her bed after time with her husband when he drops dead. Carrie is not popular at school, she is bullied, but she's also telekinetic, so the two don't really go well together. So after she's pranked at prom, she goes on a killing spree and the whole town is in danger. Then there's Bird Box by Josh Malerman. This is kind of post-apocalyptic. There are creatures that if you see them, you basically go into a violent fit, killing whoever is around and then yourself. So this woman and her 2 children have to blindfolded go up the river to find safety. And then the final horror book I have is The September House by Carissa Orlando. I have not yet read this, but I really want to. A couple buys a house for a seemingly really great price, and things suddenly make sense when every September the walls start bleeding, there's ghosts and noises, but they don't move because it's their house. I love a haunted house horror book, so I'm excited to get to this one. Final category I have is thriller/mystery. Starting with Anything by Frida McFadden. The one I have here is The Teacher, but if you're looking for a good starter one, I'd recommend The Housemaid. Everyone and their mother loves that book. Next we have The Guest List by Lucy Foley. There is a murder at the wedding. We don't know who's murdered, and we don't know who did the murdering. You get a ton of different POVs in this book. The bride, the groom, bridesmaids. It's a twisty mystery and you have to read it to find out what happens. Then we have The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. I think she writes a really great mystery thriller. I don't think they're all hits, but I thought this one was pretty good. Our main character gets a job as a live-in nanny with a really generous salary, but things aren't all as they seem when one of the children ends up dead and she's accused. It's been a while since I've read this one, so I actually don't remember too much about it, and I'm actually kind of talking about it, it makes me want to go back and read it again. Finally, we have Find Me by Anne Fraser. This is a crime book where a serial killer is going to finally confess where he hid all the bodies. He only agrees to do this if his daughter is present. As a child, she was used as the bait in his crimes to lure in women. Now an FBI profiler, she agrees to do this. We also have another detective on the scene who is convinced that his mother was murdered by this man. Super interesting. There's actually a second book in this little series and I've really got to get to it. So these are some of my book recs for the fall. If you've got any additional ones, please leave them in the comments. I'm always adding to my never-ending TBR. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for more videos. I know, I've been making videos for like, what, 3 or 4 weeks now? That's crazy! I'll see you guys next time. Peace out, Girl Scout, and goodbye!